Hello, let's talk a little bit about infinitives and gerunds. When to use the infinitive and when to use the gerund form of Spanish verbs. An infinitive is a verb in its dictionary form, not conjugated. For example, vivir, cerrar, dormir, cantar, hablar, jugar, preferir, servir. In English we say to live, to close, to sleep, to sing, to talk, to play, to prefer, and to preserve. A gerund is the term used for progressive action. In English, these are verbs with their endings, with their ing endings. Viviendo, cerrando, durmiendo, comiendo, hablando, jugando, prefiriendo, sirviendo. In forming the gerund, there are two easy steps to form the gerund. We take the verbs hablar, comer, dormir, vivir, preferir, and servir. Let's take the ending off of hablar, and since it's an AR verb, we're going to put ando. Let's take comer. We take off the ending. Since it's ER, we put yendo. Let's take the ending off of dormir. And since it's an IR verb, we're going to put yendo. Notice that ER and IR verbs have the same endings on the stems. But since it's an IR vowel changing verb, we take out that vowel change that changes, and we use only the first vowel of the vowel change, durmiendo. Now let's take vivir, which is a normal verb. We take off the IR, and we put yendo. Since there's no vowel change, it's not an IR vowel changing verb, but a regular verb, then we don't have to worry about any vowel changes. But let's take preferir, which is an E to IE vowel changing verb. We take off the ending. Since it's an IR verb, we put the yendo ending. But then what do we do with the vowel that changes in the vowel changing IR verb? We drop the vowel, and we put only the first vowel of the vowel change. If it's E to EI, we put only the I, prefiriendo. Servir is another IR vowel changing verb. The vowel changes from E to I. Let's take off the ending. Since it's an IR verb, we put yendo. We take the E off, and we put the only vowel. Since it's only E to I, we put an I. Note, remember the rule for IR vowel changing verbs. They use the first vowel of the vowel change in the gerund form, as they do in the preterite third person el and third person plural, third person singular el, third person plural ellos form, and in the nosotros command form. The progressive form, the most common usage of the gerund, is found in the progressive form of the verb. This is the use of estar plus the gerund. It denotes an ongoing immediate action that takes place. For example, estoy cantando, I am singing. Ella estaba comiendo, she was eating. Ellos estarán estudiando, they will be studying. Nosotros estuvimos corriendo, we were running. Note, though, that the progressive form is not a tense. The tense of the main verb is what places the action as past, present, or future. In other words, the tense of the conjugated verb. In this case, estoy is present tense, I am singing. Estaba is imperfect, she was eating. Estarán Will be studying is future. Estuvimos is preterite, so we were running. Besides the progressive form, the gerund is used much less frequently in Spanish than in English, being restricted to mainly two general uses. One, when it describes how or the way in which the verb action is done. Thus, it can also show simultaneous action, in other words, the main verb and this happening at the same time, and it can also be the reason for the action with the main verb being the result. When giving directions or indications of the location of something, the gerund is also used. Besides the progressive form, the gerund is used describing how, in what way, or the reason why the main action is done. Salimos de la casa comiendo pastel. We left the house eating cake. Simultaneity. How did we leave the house? Eating cake? Well, that's not how, because they didn't use cake to leave the house. It's simultaneous. Salimos de la casa comiendo pastel. Ella subió las gradas corriendo. Yeah, that's how she went upstairs. She went upstairs running. El hombre común vive ganándose la vida y trabajando duro. That's how the man lives, earning a living and working hard. Sabiendo que Miguel llamaría, Judith no contestó el teléfono. The reason for not answering the telephone, she was knowing all along that he would call. The use of the infinitive, directions and giving or indications of location is another reason for using the gerund. Mi oficina está entrando a la derecha. Now, it doesn't mean that the office is entering on the right. No, you'll find my office as you go in on the right. So it's an action that takes place, giving direction or location. Saliendo de mi cuarto, las escaleras están a tu derecha. Leaving my room, the stairs are on the right. Manejando lentamente, el callejón se encuentra a la izquierda. Driving slowly, the alley is found on the right. Buscando en los gabinetes, los platos están al fondo. Searching in the cabinets, the plates are on the right. The Spanish use of the infinitive. The use of the infinitive in Spanish is much more common and is, in some cases, translated as with an English gerund. The infinitive is used. Infinitives are used after prepositions and never conjugated unless there is a change of subject. Infinitives after a and para have distinguishable use. Al, with the infinitive, denotes simultaneous or action which is slightly sequential to the verb. When using the verb as a noun, you will use the infinitive. Following helping or modal verbs and verbs like gustar, you will use the infinitive. Infinitives are used after prepositions when there is no change of subject. Let's look at these points more closely. Here's the first. Yo estudio español a fin de graduarme en mayo. I study Spanish so that I graduate in May. No change of subject. Yo gané mucho dinero por trabajar mucho, duro. I earned a lot of money because I worked very hard. Yo no vendré hasta terminar mi tarea. I will not come home until I finish my homework. Yo nadé 100 metros sin parar. I swam 100 meters without stopping. Now you'll notice in each of these, the preposition is followed by an infinitive, and there's no change of subject. The main subject is doing both actions. Infinitives after a and para have distinguishable use. The onset of an action is expressed with a. If there is a direct object, you will use para. Nosotros comenzamos a cantar. We started singing. Ellos empezaron a quejarse. They began complaining. Ella lo hizo para salvarse. Notice that she did it to save herself. There's a direct object there, so you will use para. Me visitó para darme un regalo. You will not say me visitó a darme in order to give a gift. Los llamé a ustedes para decirles que yo no vengo. I called you to tell you that I wasn't coming. Al with the infinitive denotes simultaneous action or action that is slightly sequential to the main verb. Another reason you would use the infinitive. If any English speaker makes a mistake of when to use gerund or infinitive in Spanish, this will most likely be the place. English uses designators such as while, as, when, upon, in order to indicate simultaneous action or actions in sequence. Spanish, al, plus the infinitive. Al desembarcar del avión, un pasajero se cayó. While desembarking the plane, the passenger fell. Al entrar en la sala, se le cayeron los libros. Upon entering the room, he dropped the books. Al salir de la escuela, los niños jugaron. As they left school, the children played. Al descubrir el nuevo planeta, el astrónomo reescribió su ensayo. Upon discovering the new planet, the astronomer wrote his paper. Now, whether you use while or as or when or upon to translate kind of depends on very fine points you might have to clarify, because al can mean any of those, while or upon or as. But notice that where in English we use the gerund, desembarking instead of desembarcar, entering instead of entrar, leaving school or as they left school, and discovering. The Spanish does not use the gerund. When we use the verb as a noun, whereas in English the gerund is used to describe the action of a noun or a verb as a noun, Spanish uses the infinitive. So here's another place where English speakers will want to think about using the gerund in Spanish but shouldn't. El nadar es una actividad divertida. The act of swimming is a fun activity. Notice in English we would say and use the gerund, swimming, not Spanish. El nadar. Ten cuidado en hablar de estas cosas. Be careful when or in talking, the act of talking. We're using the verb as a noun about these things. El fumar es novicio para la salud. Act of smoking is bad for your health. No hay nada más relajante que sentarse en un sofá al terminar el día de trabajo con un pocillo helado de root beer. There's nothing more relaxing than sitting, the act of sitting, sentarse, on the sofa as, there's al, the workday ends with a cold mug of root beer. Following helping or modal verbs and verbs like gustar, you're also going to use the infinitive. Yo quiero ir con ustedes. This is probably the very, very first thing that you learned about compound verbs. Yo quiero ir. I want to go with you. Necesito terminar mi almuerzo. I need to finish my lunch. No change of subject, and the verb is already conjugated, so the next verb goes in to the infinitive. Me encanta jugar al fútbol. I love to play soccer. No me importa leer mucho. It doesn't matter to me to read a lot. Yo puedo tocar el piano. I can play the piano. Yo debo hacer la cama. I must make the bed.